Welcome to Even Tacos Fall Apart, a podcast where we explore mental health one story at a time. I'm MommaFoxFire, and I'm really glad you're here today. Whether you're a longtime listener or this is your first episode, thank you for showing up because that really matters. Today's episode is one I have been looking forward to sharing with you. We are talking about traumatic brain injury, or TBI, what it actually does to a person, what recovery looks like from the inside, and why the road back is so much harder and so much stranger than most people realize. We also talk about tabletop role-playing games and gaming as genuine tools for healing and connection. I know that might sound like an unlikely pairing, but by the end of this episode, I think you're going to see it differently. First, let's talk about TBI for a second, because there's a real gap between what most people think it is and what it actually is. Traumatic brain injury affects nearly 1.5 million Americans every year. It can happen from a car crash, a fall, a sports injury, combat, or any significant impact to the head. And a lot of people don't understand that you don't have to lose consciousness or be in a coma. You can walk out of a hospital looking completely fine and still be dealing with cognitive changes, vision problems, memory issues, emotional dysregulation, and a complete reorganization of who you thought you were. That last part is what doesn't get talked about enough. TBI is often called the invisible injury, and that label exists for a reason. The person standing in front of you might look the same. They might sound mostly the same, but internally they are doing an enormous amount of work just to function in a world that has no idea anything even happened to them. And that isolation, the feeling of being surrounded by people who can't see what you're carrying, is one of the most consistent things survivors describe, regardless of how their injury happened or how severe it was. Recovery from TBI is not a straight line. It's not a timeline that a doctor hands you in a folder. It really involves relearning things you never thought you'd have to relearn. And also, it involves grief for the version of yourself that existed before. It involves showing up to physical therapy and speech therapy and occupational therapy, and sometimes just showing up to your own kitchen and calling that a win for the day. And it involves finding the things, whatever they are, that give your brain and your nervous system a reason to keep working at it. For our guest today, one of those things turned out to be a tabletop role-playing game. If you've never played a TTRPG, here's the short version. You sit around a table with other people. You create a character. You collaboratively tell a story, make decisions, solve problems, and yes, roll a lot of dice. Games like Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder have been around for decades, and for a long time they existed mostly on the fringes of mainstream culture. That has changed significantly, and the mental health and therapeutic communities have started paying attention to why. These games require you to be present. They require social engagement, creative thinking, problem solving, and communication. They offer a structured environment where it's safe to take risks, make mistakes, and try again. For someone rebuilding cognitive function, rebuilding social confidence, or just trying to find a place where they feel like they belong, that structure turns out to matter a lot. Therapists and researchers are increasingly incorporating gaming into treatment, and the anecdotal evidence from survivors has been building for years. Today's guest survived a serious motorcycle crash that resulted in a traumatic brain injury in 2016. He had pelvic injuries requiring surgical hardware and a recovery process that was, by any measure, brutal. He came out the other side of it as an advocate, a public speaker, and someone who has addressed political organizations and members of the U.S. Congress about brain injury awareness. And he's a deeply committed member of the tabletop gaming community who uses that platform to reach people who need it. Nicholas doesn't sugarcoat what happened to him. He is direct, he's funny, and he's genuinely generous with the hard parts of his story. This conversation covers his crash and early recovery, how gaming entered the picture and why it helped, what tabletop communities can offer that other spaces sometimes can't, and some practical, no-nonsense tools he picked up along the way that are useful for pretty much anyone, brain injury or not. If you or someone you love has experienced a TBI, I hope this episode makes you feel a little less alone in it. And if this topic is brand new to you, I hope it opens something up. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. I am really excited to be here with you today. As always, it is the beginning of the week, and so hopefully as your brain is getting fired up for the week, you can join us and ask some questions. If you would like to ask any questions today, we do have a question queue. Go ahead and enter those into the chat, and we'll make sure to get them answered. Our topic tonight is going to be speaking about a traumatic brain injury survival story and using tabletop role-playing games and gaming in general in therapy. And I am so pleased to be joined by Nicholas Ruchlewicz. Hopefully I said that correctly. Thank you, Nicholas, so much for joining us today. I'm super happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate it as well. It means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, so Nicholas is a traumatic brain injury survivor who turned a life-changing motorcycle crash into the start of a powerful advocacy journey. During his long recovery, he found out that tabletop role-playing games and other forms of gaming became an important part of his therapy and healing. And today he speaks to groups around the world, including political organizations and members of the U.S. Congress, to raise awareness about brain injury recovery and mental health support. He is also a lifelong tabletop role player, concert fan, and gamer, and he joins us to share his story, his recovery, and how gaming can be used as a meaningful tool for connection and coping. And if you are looking to connect with Nicholas anywhere, I've got a few links for you. I've got the link tree where you can find a whole bunch of different information, a YouTube link, and a Spotify. So make sure to click through on those and check them out. But we are, like I said, here to talk all about your story, Nicholas. So what inspired you to start sharing your story and really help others through your advocacy work?
Well, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it. What helped and inspire me to share my story? Couldn't imagine everything that happened to me, but it did. And when that happened, everything seemed to isolate and come in on me. I mean, I was in a single vehicle motorcycle crash March 15th, 2016, the Ides of March on Brain Injury Awareness Month, so double jeopardy. And don't really know what happened, doesn't really matter, but every brain injury is different. And it is very isolating, and things will, you know, collapse over you or isolate you from everything else. And I took that as a sign to say, hey, I want to do more to try to help others not feel like they're alone. Doesn't matter what they came upon in life. I wanted to make sure that they knew that there was other hope out there or other help out there if they ever needed it.
Yeah, and that's really important too, just to be able to say like, hey, listen, I am here for you, and it's not something that many people have been through, but I have, and here's what helped me, and here's my story. It's not always the same story as someone else, but at least it's that inspiration of, here I am, and I'm here to help you feel a little bit less alone.
Yeah, exactly. It's very isolating. They call it the invisible injury, and it affects many, many, many Americans, and I mean everybody around the globe. So it's important to kind of help break down barriers and have conversations and help show empathy for each other, because we never know the battles that are going behind. People don't know what happened to me. Fortunately, I don't wear any visible scars that are not covered by my hair, but it is there. And it's important to, when we make ourselves known and express vulnerabilities, and help show others the courage that we all have.
Yeah. And I know we're going to get into it a little bit later as well, but I would love to know, do you have a favorite game or one you feel like more people should take the time to try?
Besides really silly games, if I want to just laugh at like card games such as like Joking Has or something like that, I'm my nerd street cred's pretty high. I play a lot of Pathfinder role playing game, so it's tabletop role playing game, which is a competitor to the world's oldest role playing game, Dungeons and Dragons. So that is my real nerdery. That's where I shine the most and do a lot. And that's really what a lot of the story's about. And what I've been able to do is help use a cool platform that I have, and take it and speak to others about ways that I found to help myself and help others out.
Yeah, we've got some huge D&D fans in the community for sure. My sister being one of them. Uh, she every family vacation, she brings a big backpack full of D&D stuff so we can do like one-shot campaigns with our family. And it's a lot of fun. My kids have caught the bug as well. They're very into D&D, which is really cute. They have little notebooks that they'll leave laying around the house, which the laying around the house part, I'm like, could you not? But it's cute that they're doing something together and connecting over it. And it's really neat. And it's just so I think people who haven't tried D&D don't really quite grasp how much of a storytelling opportunity is for yourself. For every player, you get a little bit of storytelling opportunity. And once you get into it, it's really cool. It's really fun.
I joke, and back in my day, I used to get beat up and chased in high school. So I did it for everybody else. Don't worry, and that's what happened to me. And I'm old school Thaco, so I get it, and it is neat, and it is cool how certain things torpedoed it to such the forefront of it's okay to be a nerd, it's okay to enjoy these hobbies that long ago you were shunned for enjoying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm really grateful for that because my kids are both huge nerds, which maybe they didn't have a choice. Maybe they didn't have a choice in the matter, but I'm glad it's more acceptable for sure. For folks who are meeting you for the first time, I know you said you don't remember much about the crash, but can you share a little bit about the early part of your recovery journey?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, again, like I mentioned, every injury is different. I was not in a coma, but I wasn't cognizant at all. A right side brain injury, a lot of that is your executive function. It is your impulsivity. It's understanding where you are and your vision and a few other items. Like example, like left side negligence, right side injury. It's just that's how the brain works. So even though I was never in a coma, I wasn't cognizant of anything. So people would come in the room and I would recognize faces or I would say things. It didn't make much sense, but it was compulsory and they had to tie my hands down because when they didn't, I pulled staples out of my head because my
Oh, wow.
face, the movie Face Off's full of crap. It's, I got ear to ear, pulled my face down. And I stood up one time and urinated and then I broke the sutures in my pelvis. And now I have a
Oh,
plate
wow.
holding my legs together. So just a little bit of trauma, but through that recovery and through that, trauma intensive care unit, I wasn't aware of much, but it was interesting because when I was going through pain spikes, stuff like that, my blood pressure would raise, and my girlfriend, now my wife, she would play my heavy metal music station, Typo Negative. It would have Typo Negative, Opeth, Deftones, Lacuna Coil, and you can literally see my blood pressure lower. So it would, have this effect on me when things were rough. I would hear it, I guess, and help bring me a peace. And then a couple weeks later, I woke up and I found myself at a acute rehab hospital where I didn't understand why. I saw two of everything and had to learn how to move my hands, move my eyes. It was it was quite a bit. I mean, it's really easy to start over. It was a very fast, it's you one day one and one day another. It's just how the brain and everything works. So I had a lot of building blocks to do, and it was definitely a fun. I won't say fun. It was definitely to put the F in fun. Let's just say journey, but I wouldn't take it away because I gained so much from it.
Mm.
I've gained that's why I kind of label this a gift of perspective because I see things very differently now. And, through those struggles and through those little, you know, small victories, I was able to gain more and help bring others hope and help bring others some chance to move on. I mean, in my recovery, they have in my rehab hospital. So in the trauma unit, currently I volunteer with Trauma Survivors Network, and
Mm.
we go into inpatient trauma and speak to patients and their loved ones about trauma and potentially life after trauma. See, because when you're in an injury or an incident, you only see yourself there. You don't see yourself there. In the acute rehabilitation hospital, we had peer mentoring, and I only went in there once, but I was in a lot of discomfort. I don't call it pain, I call it discomfort now, but I had to be taken out. But I heard a person's story and they spoke about having a brain aneurysm and not understanding what numbers were, and they were a
Mm.
mathematician. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
why would I be getting so upset at myself? Like, I just can't calm down. I can't relax. So that, 5-minute conversation with them really helped propel me forward to say, okay, I want to do this because I don't want anyone in that circumstance to feel they are alone in this.
Yeah, yeah. What was the radio station you said you turned on?
Well, I have a Pandora. I've
Oh, yeah.
cultivated a Pandora station for a long time, typo negative, but I liked a lot of gothic, heavy metal music and stuff like that. And typo negative was my favorite band, and I
Mhm.
never got to see Peter Steele before he passed in
Mm.
2010, and I had a lot of regrets with that. And through that, I mean, living with regret is something I don't want to do. So I always take a chance to take that risk and do something. And so when I got out of my trauma, and I made sure I tried to do what I could to get out and go see different shows. And that's how I ended up, you know, speaking to people. And I met the band and the fans of the Kuna Coil, and literally went over to London and met people from around the globe, and, to hang out with them, and, met them 20 times, and like the nicest people in the world. And it's pretty cool. It's a small community of people. No matter how big the world is, the kindness and the camaraderie that people can have over something that brings a lot of people together, such as music, is powerful. And during the pandemic, things were rough for everyone. I mean, it was the only time in the world that everybody could say someone was going through something at once, and it was important to do. But the band, especially the lead vocalist, one of the vocalists, Christina, I remember her singing on Instagram out the window in Italy, and that was the first one that was really done, and it really inspired me, just the hope that it did. And then she opened her Twitch channel, and then I started meeting people on Twitch and talking to them, and then it just grew from there. It's been crazy. It's only 9 years and what, 8 months, but it still seems a lot longer. But it seems so short, as much as it's been in, since my trauma.
Yeah. It so you said whenever they would turn this radio on that you could see your blood pressure go down and your different statistics and everything improve. Did the doctors ever comment on that?
No, I mean, I was in a brain injury conference. I did a keynote speech, and there was a discussion about music and the
Mhm.
healing power it has, and especially brain injury, because they learned a lot of things along the way. They say you can't be anxious if you sing, and when you hear something familiar, it can trigger certain items and kind of
Yeah.
reflect back. I would tell people, everybody can probably remember a time when they were younger and listening to music and brought them some joy or whatever, outside or with the windows down, and just bringing that remembrance. And I think that, I don't know the scientifical, any facts about it. I just know what worked for me, and I'm very
Yeah.
grateful that I had it. And I mean, I had a really rough, truthfully, I mean, this radio station was there because I had a really rough separation before
Mm.
my injury. And I was seeing a therapist, and, through that, and but music was like my safety net. That was when things were bad. I'd put my music on, just walk my dogs. Just that was my therapy. And then, so I had that always going. So then when my trauma happened, my girlfriend was able to just pick that music up and play it. So it wasn't just some random person just playing random information. It
Mhm.
was the fact that it was something that I always had on. And literally to this day, I sleep with my music on every day, every night, just to help me just turn off my brain.
Yeah. Smart of your girlfriend to be like, "Oh, let me just turn this on for you," and kinda make that connection. That's great. She hopped on
Yeah,
that.
it was,
That's fantastic.
yeah, very much so. Yeah. Yep.
Good. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in the months after your injury?
Biggest challenges. I mean, where to begin? I mean, so I was non-weight bearing for 12 weeks because of the pelvic
Mm.
injury. So it was very difficult. I, you know, first getting up in the first, I was in the rehabilitation hospital for about, 2.5 weeks, but, from picking up small things in my hand to trying to learn to concentrate again and try to focus on one thing at a time. Speech therapy was really tough for me. So there's, many people understand what physical therapy is. Oh, I hurt my back, or, and
Hmm.
people will go to it through various reasons. Occupational therapy is helping someone, kind of regain independence. And speech therapy is different for everyone. And I was fighting that left and right because I could speak fine. Why are you doing this to me? I just hurt my legs. I just couldn't do this. And then I needed to try to, slow down and try to take things in. Wheelchair was not easy, and I was in a very, again, I had a rough separation right before my trauma. So I was living in my mother's basement. So I had to have the handles off the wheelchair removed, and had to buy a drop down commode, and had to wheel down a grassy hill to get me in. And if I didn't have
Wow.
that luxury of being able to get in, I would have had a long-term motel, or I would have been in a short care rehab facility. So it was definitely, challenges were aplenty. And I know when I could walk again, I thought I was just going to be able to just start walking. So I could move my legs. Like, I mean, I was able to move it, and it's like, oh, I can do this. And my physical therapist telling me that, we don't see you. You're not going to be on a cane. You'll be on a walker. And I laughed. I was like, yeah, right. I'll walk her right out of here. And I'll tell you, those were the hardest 12 steps that I ever took. Like, if you ever think of a baby when they're trying to walk, like their bottom moving around and falling, that's exactly what it felt like. Because
Yeah.
it's like a gyroscope when you don't know how to use it. So I knew I really needed to focus in and try to do this. And it's tough. I mean, every injury, every illness, they're all, nothing's easy. Life's the four-letter word. Depends on when you use it. I say, it doesn't necessarily be easy, but it's not always hard. Just trying to look at the path you want to, follow, and push yourself where you can in a safe manner.
Yeah. And all those things you're talking about relearning, you've got the added frustration of, I know I can do all of this, but I'm having to relearn it. And as an adult, that's it's just an extra challenge.
Yeah, and I mean, the vision was definitely very difficult. So I was, certain sides of the brain have different, functions. Right side also controls the way you see things in space. So
Mm.
even though I understood what words are, I mean, I had a terrible eye patch on. I thought it was because of the ocular damage around my eye, but it was actually because I couldn't I couldn't control my eyes. So I saw two of everything. It was
Oh,
just,
wow.
everything was off. So I had to, like, relearn how to use my eyes again and just
Hmm.
focus them. And it's again, those little building blocks, this thing, it's, you move on and you're like, oh wow, look where I am. So yeah,
Yeah. You're going through all of this. How did your injury affect your sense of identity and what helped you rebuild that part?
it's very it's very tough to answer that. So I am I'm a manager. I manage huge construction sites and teams, and, engineering teams. And I do, you know, quite a bit of different technical stuff in my work. And my identity was my ability to problem solve, my ability to command, take charge of my old company had an email, Hannibal, at my, address, because I love when a plan comes together. I can come up with any plan. I could follow it all. But losing the sense, my identity of being a problem solver was, I mean, it's the most frightening thing in the world. I mean, it
Mm.
still terrifies me today thinking about that, just losing that sense of myself, of what I was, and that darkness, that unknown, where, like I said, I was never in a coma, but I say my mind was blank for 12 days. I
Yeah.
wasn't aware of anything. So it's that, even though I'm there, I'm not there. So I say I'm always trying to race to get those days I lost. It's impossible. It's never gonna be able, but I always push myself because I never want to lose that ability again, because it's terrifying.
Yeah. Are there any common misconceptions about traumatic brain injury that you want to challenge or address?
How long do we have?
As long as you want.
um, to understand that because someone might have had an injury does not define them, that
Mm.
they are defining themselves. Someone I care about, who I only met through my trauma recovery. I mean, they are a brain injury survivor, and they had a car crash in '82, and people would speak to them like they are incapacitated or they're slow,
Mm.
and they could understand everything fine, but they have a hard time speaking because of the closed head injury. So it really taught me how to talk to people, because I always look someone in the eye. I make sure I give eye contact, and I enunciate as cleanly so they can see me, and make sure I give them respect and the dignity that I would want myself. So someone with a brain injury, same thing with any injury or any illness, you want to have respect and dignity. So someone it is just talk to them like you would want to be spoken to. I try to sometimes remember to look at my I would try to remember to look at myself in the third person. How am I handling the situation? Did I like that? And when I work with someone, I want to make sure that I'm proud of being in front of them, with them. You know, I want to stand with them. That's it. Again, every brain injury is different. I could go on and get in a rambling thought, but just ensuring that you're giving the dignity that you would expect yourself to them can change someone's healing drastically, because I did a keynote on this. The way someone makes you feel that can last forever, that memory. And when you show them the strength, the courage, the dignity that you would want, they see you as an ally in many different ways, because you allow yourself to be vulnerable in front of them, and therefore you can be strong together.
Yeah. And I will also just kind of to add to that a little bit, there have been some great recommendations in our community in the past and even recently as well. We talked about this just the other week, but of if you can't figure out how would you want to be treated in this situation, how would you treat your best friend in this situation? Like if it was your friend sitting there and someone that you knew super well, how would you treat them or how would you want to see them being treated? And so if you have a hard time being like, I don't know how I would, well, what if it was your best friend? And just try to frame it in whatever way helps you get your head around it. But yeah. And I know that that's part of support you can provide folks, but if you have family or friends who are going through a similar journey, is there anything that you can do to support them to provide that connection that they need?
Um, just try by love and just, connection, and understand that it's a difficult time for them, and it is a difficult time for the caretakers. I mean, another mentor says, that their spouse went through worse than they did because they had to keep explaining
Mm,
themselves over and over. So trying to be kind to each other is very important, and understand that you didn't want this and they didn't want this either. So just coming together and what brought you together. Speaking to doctors, speaking when things don't seem right, and I always encourage support groups. I mean,
yeah.
that's one of the strongest tools I have in my life, is meeting trauma survivors network, where we can go and speak with other trauma survivors. And there is caretaker support networks, and there are doctors, therapists do. There is literature out there. The web, the one of the organizations I volunteer for, Trauma Survivors Network.org, they actually have, information for trauma survivors as well as families, and different classes people can take and stuff. Empathy for each other. Nobody asked for that to happen. So what brought you together? Just try to focus on the love you have for certain things, and to show that appreciation.
When did tabletop gaming or digital gaming enter the picture as a tool for healing for you?
So I said my nerd street cred was pretty high.
Yep.
I played a lot of games, and so I mean that also takes so again, I mentioned I had a really rough separation, and leading to divorce, and I did not want to stay at home playing games.
Mm.
I joke I'm a WoW survivor. I got my, like, 10, I'm at like my 15-year trip. I don't remember, but I played WoW for a while, but when my separation happened, I did not want to be stuck, in front of a computer. I wanted to push myself to get out of my comfort zone. So that's where I went out to play games. And I Googled like, D&D groups and Pathfinder groups, and I found Pathfinder Society. So I went to game stores and I met people and played games, and I would always be going. I'd always want to be around people. And it was crazy because my trauma happened, 9 months later, 11 months later. But some of these people that I met at games, I mean, they visited me in my hospital. They came to see. So again, these circumstances are created from it, these cool friendships are there. It's pretty powerful when you have to go from creative and and analytical thought. That's a lot of times right side brain injury. What a perfect way to do it than role playing game, because you go with the mechanical aspect of the game. Pathfinder First Edition was called Mathfinder, and it definitely had a lot of math. But you would go from analytical to creative, and it would just
Hmm.
be going back and forth. It would be getting in a new environment. When I'd go into the game stores again, and I would be in a wheelchair, and the sound, the lights would be a lot for me, overwhelming. So, but I knew I was going to be comfortable. I knew I was going to be okay. And then, like I said, I had to relearn how to use my arms and stuff. So I'd only like move the pieces with my left hand and stuff, just to, again, to work on that dexterity. Eventually having a walker as well, going in there and trying to have the confidence to say, I can get in here and do this. And doing so, obviously, I'm showing it's tough for me because I feel scared and in a bad situation. But
Mm.
doing this also allowed me to show others that, to feel safe too, because I wanted that environment to feel welcomed in. And that's the great thing I have about one of the organizations I volunteer with, Paizo Organized Play Foundation. We help bring gaming to others, no matter who they're are, or where they are coming from. We're very inclusive, and I have a policy. I always want people to feel welcomed and safe, because that's what I needed when I really needed it. And that was actually really, I just came back from PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia, literally last night at 11:45. So it was awesome seeing people from around the country, but being able to help get that good experience together, have fun in a game, and just enjoy the hell out of it together it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this to you before, but I've been to PAX South whenever they still had it in Texas. It was just such a blast. And their tabletop area is massive. Like it probably takes up half of the convention, which is just wonderful. And you can go, and whenever they were having, and you could go do all the game, try out all the games and everything. It's interesting to me also that you mentioned after your separation that you really were like, I don't want to stay in the house and do that. Cause that's something that I did as well. After I kicked my ex out, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go find somewhere to go play some games. And it was really cool. I just went to like the meetup. I went to the meetup, they have meetup groups and stuff. And there was a group that was meeting. It was right during COVID. So we were all masked up, and we would meet in a public space, and we would bring different board games and try out different board games. And it was really cool. It was just a way to connect and kind of get in. And it was neat for that. Like even for that part of my own journey, I feel like it was healing to be able to connect back with something that I enjoyed so much. But what is there anything that makes tabletop role playing different from other hobbies for you when it comes to emotional or psychological benefits?
Yeah, and it just made me laugh because I run a meetup group in the Washington D.C. area,
I love that.
B&B organized play. So I like,
Perfect.
oh, that's exactly what we did too. So it's a good
Yes.
segue. I was a
Yeah.
good, couldn't have planned that one better. And if you repeat your question again? I got a little distracted about.
That's okay. No, I was just asking if there's anything that makes tabletop role playing different from other hobbies when it comes to like emotional or psychological benefits.
So I feel it allows people to be creative. It
Mhm.
allows people to be creative in whatever their character would do, and be comfortable and be able to live vicariously through others. If they wouldn't feel confident to do certain things, but my character would be confident,
Yep.
that gives them. I mean, I've made some amazing friendships from this, and I've had some people send me some lovely messages that I've sent to organized play and spoke to the people in Paizo about the fact that we are helping them break some of their no their anxieties, their social
Hmm.
anxieties, because everybody's there together for a purpose. There is, and you know, we have some fantastic players that are pretty much like a family to us now. I mean, we see each other all the time, and I do a lot of events for charity, from Toys for Tots to various various different programs around. I mean, September is a big one for mental health and suicide prevention, and in we do a game day up in a friend of mine's store in College Park, Maryland. But we raised this past year $1,500 for suicide prevention for a local charity. So again, I've always had this bleeding heart in me, right? But I've taken this gaming trigger, whatever you want to call it, to help me propel me forward to find ways to make change for others, getting in this environment, being creative, being excited, for their own character, and see how they work through the world, no matter if it's imaginary or not. It is empowering when they can do something. It was Again, I run conventions all up and down the East Coast, and it's pretty awesome. But I'll tell you, Organized Play Foundation has Pathfinder has a lot of iconic characters, and what was really powerful to me was when I was at a comic book show, and they don't have games much, but there was a we had our characters out, and there was a a culture in the game, but looks essentially like an African American, like knight, essentially what it was. There was a young African American woman who saw, girl who saw that, and she was so excited to play this knight. And I was like, okay, that's what's important about a game like this, because people can identify certain aspects of themselves in something else. There's a lot of females in it. There is a married couple, and they, the two females, and the fact that it makes people, hopefully gets people feel comfortable with for themselves, is really important. In especially, we don't need to talk about how toxic everything is right now, but it is especially very important in that gaming community. So I also do MagFest, music, anime, and gaming in National Harbor. I run all the tabletop gaming stuff for Pathfinder, and it's really special. We have a lot of LGBTQ gamers and GMs that really feel comfortable, and we can help give them that safe environment where they can be creative, where they can be, excited. When the world's hard enough, we want to make sure that tabletop games are a good experience for everybody involved.
Yeah. Representation is huge. And when you can have something that fully represents you in whatever way you choose, also like you're choosing your character and you're choosing what you're putting in this game. I know there are lots of specifically designed tabletop games for therapy and that kind of stuff, but I really think that just the free form ability to get into this world and immerse yourself in it with a group of people is therapeutic in itself already without anything specifically designed. I think that there's a lot of we've come a long way as far as like the different safety checks and stuff we can do within a normal game. But yeah, I think that it's hugely helpful in terms of representation to be able to see yourself in a game like this, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. Also, it's really, really impactful. Were there any specific game mechanics or styles of play that helped you communicate or process or reconnect?
So long ago, when I played Pathfinder First Edition, it was very, very number crunchy. But it was good to have that understanding of a more of a complexity to it. In 2019, Paizo launched the new Pathfinder Second Edition, which was very. I was hesitant at first, but it blew me away after playing it forever, because I played a lot of First Edition. I played it technically. I played D&D 3.0, 3.5, blah blah blah. So I was, I don't want to change. But then I started doing it and seeing how expansive it was, and how you can literally, if you anything you could think of, you can create.
Hmm.
And that was something that was like, oh wow, I can, like, I tell people, like, when they think of a tiefling, they think of like, oh, a demonic human, right? That's what a tiefling is. Well, in Sec Pathfinder, it's just a heritage. So somewhere in your lineage, someone got freaky with someone. But it's like I have an orc tiefling who I made as Hellboy. It's just
Oh,
again,
that's
I
great.
had this idea. I'll be like, yeah, he has iron fist is like a feat that a orc can have, and it's super fun to just kind of be creative with it and be like, okay, you can do this, and having people be really excited about the character concept they want to do. And I'm a very excitable person, as you can probably tell, but me cheering them on about, I really like the idea, that's really cool to do it. And I learned from another GM, one of the things to when you're at a table, it's really good to encourage the habits you like. It's
Hmm.
he's a psychiatrist. He's like that's a good way to kind of control, because when you don't, instead of telling someone you don't like certain things, just, oh, that's really cool, let's do that. Because everybody wants to kind of always, a little bit of teacher's pet. They want to be excited with you. And that's
Yeah.
the neat thing about a game like this, where you can really help people feel that they can do their whatever they imagine they can make.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. And that's a very much a psychologist kind of en encouragement for you, for sure. But also with parenting, like, that's some very common parenting advice, and encourage the behaviors you want to see, and that way you're not always seen as the bad guy, right? It's very that's very, very common advice, I think. And it sounds like you've had a lot of folks who you've played with who have really influenced you. Are there any who influenced your recovery experience specifically?
I guess, I mean, yes, because I had people that reached out to me that,
Mm,
just to check in on me. Like, so we have I want to say hierarchy, but in the volunteer thing, there's different people, different positions. So my venture captain, a very stoic Marine, he was, when my injury happened, obviously he was very concerned. And like afterwards, I talked to him and he would immediately say, how is rehab going? How's recovery going? So he didn't talk to me about, well, the game mechanic this. He was like, how are you doing? So
yeah,
the fact that people out there were, there, and last everybody has struggles. We know that. It's just part of the world. I lost my mother last year, which was very tough for many people. And I remember I went to Gen Con last year. I hadn't been in forever. I wanted to stay away. My friend said, you really need to go. And I went there, and I remember seeing another gamer. And then as soon as I say them, they gave me a big hug, just because of how hard everything's been. So again, that's what really changes it. It's that level of kindness that someone can show of a silly game that's involving math rocks and just, beating up creatures that don't exist, but they have this real compassion and love for a community and then ourselves. And that's, again, that is something that, money can't buy. You can't really make that. It's a genuine authenticity, and it's something that is true and it's real. And when you have those people I don't want to lose, that I've met, and just again, because I took a chance, I wanted to play a game at a store. And then I just wanted to do more. And then I wanted to help. And again, it's a snowball effect. To have a little bit of stuff and then just keep going and going. And my gosh, look at all the people behind me that I've been able to help grow with, play with. And also through organized play, I've helped out other members who have had suffered strokes or have been touched by trauma. But being able to be there with them has been extremely rewarding for me as well.
the gaming world can provide a lot of really great connections, and it sounds like you found quite a few of those, which is fantastic. What advice would you give to someone who wants to explore tabletop role playing games as a mental health support tool?
Allow yourself to be silly, allow yourself to make mistakes, and just try to be ready to be silly and have fun. Nobody's perfect. Nobody knows all the rules. Don't ever expect to know all the rules. I've run 380 Pathfinder 2 games. I don't know all the rules. I know a
Yeah.
lot of them, but I don't know all of them. But what I do know is I do know how to have fun, and I do know how to help it. I know how to help a table have fun. So, and I tell my players that too. If you're not having fun, I'm not having fun. So understand we're there together. And if you're not enjoying it, you don't have to stay. You don't want to be disruptive or this and that, but you know, what do they say? If you ran into an asshole once in the day, you ran into an ass. But if you went into an asshole all day, maybe you're the one.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you could be around someone that's just a terrible, like a pain in the butt. That's okay. Doesn't mean you got to always be around them, but you'll also be around people that you can never imagine having these cool friendships for,
Yeah.
because you both all wanted to do something creative, just to, again, pass time. And I mean, you mentioned before earlier about the pandemic and how it changed. And so I pretty much only did in person, and then uh, pandemic happened and we were all going through something awesome at once, but it sucked me back, inside, which I was very depressed. I mean, I'm an extrovert, and when I was trapped in my own mind again for weeks, I mean, it terrified me even thinking about it. So, but I wanted to find ways to connect, and through organized play, they have a huge online community too, and you can play anytime around the globe, literally, and play online. And it's neat because that allowed me to, again, still stay connected to people in other ways.
Yeah.
I like in person better. It's just who I am, but it is out there for each person, and I take that chance. And like we were mentioning, like you mentioned before, about after your separation you had, about trying to get out of the house, help is very healthy for ourselves, and understanding what makes us tick is really what we need to do too. Asking ourselves, why am I doing this? Am I enjoying this? Let's continue to do it, and explore more. And there is a handful of different organizations out there that help with you know rehab or recovery,
Mm.
therapy with gaming. I actually met with some of them at PAX, Geek Therapy, or and just helping them,
Love geek therapy.
just communicative. Yeah, and actually, I think it's Geek Therapy. I was saying wrong, but they're actually located in Fairfax, Virginia. I was like, oh, cool. Well, so I'm trying to work with them too. So again, through my trauma, through my recovery, through my brain injury, I now take this mantle to go out and talk to people. And I spoke to tons of people at PAX Unplugged, from content creators to different podcasts, about some of my different struggles I'm doing and how important this gaming community was,
Mm-hmm.
from a Twitch feed of a musician I like, to hell, you and I talking now. I mean, how crazy is it that such a horrible event that could have happened, I've been able to make a great story. And I try to say this to patients too. Remember, I was like, don't let Facebook tell your story. Don't like this. You're your own narrate your own. You're the one that's the author. When you do it, it takes the power from everybody else. So include that in your gaming thing. If this brings you joy and this gives you an opportunity to connect to people in a different way, do it. I mean, it's amazing how it does and opens up others, and gives them feel safe to be safe and creative too. Because in the end of the day, we all want everybody deserves to be happy. Everybody deserves to feel safe. And it's how it is. Even people you don't like, I mean, they still deserve it. So wanting that for others is good, because you can want it for yourself too. And being come in an environment like that is really very powerful, when you can all kind of come together.
Yeah. And I know we've talked a lot about the in-person and how much that can be really helpful. And it definitely was helpful for me at the time too. But what one of the things that I really love about gaming in general is that there's online communities, and you can connect in with those, and they can be so impactful. Some of my very best friends I met right after a huge tragedy in my life when my grandfather went missing. And then also I had decided that I was going to start making a safety and exit plan out of my marriage. I got back into online gaming for the first time in many years, and I met some really cool people who I still absolutely love and adore today. And it's like I've met some of them in person now, which is great, but we had just an purely online friendship for so long. And it's like it's so interesting, just the connections that you can make from something that you're just like, one day I decided I was going to log back into RuneScape for the first time in probably a decade. Like, and then there it is. So just one little thing that you do it has such a ripple effect. It's really cool. It's really fantastic. I know you mentioned, wow, I really started with Well, I didn't start with RuneScape. That was my first online multiplayer game that I really got into. But my gaming also goes way back. So
Mine was EverQuest, and then
Oh,
EverQuest 2, and
EverQuest.
then
Oh yeah.
Dark Age of Camelot was
Mhm.
that, and then I didn't play WoW for a while, and then I did after, I think right when before Burning Crusade came out, and then it was funny, the guy that got me into it, like a month later he quit, and I still
Of
play it.
course.
So it's yeah, it's
Yep.
yeah. I mean, again, to each their own. People have it, and it is, online is good for many,
Mhm.
and so like the Pathfinder role playing game, they team up with Foundry, so they have a lot of online games that you can just play, and
Yeah.
people love it, and it's awesome the friendships they can build from it. And I respect that, and I'm glad people know what works for them. I just know that for me, I know what fills me more.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
for
know
me,
yourself.
it is, yeah, and that's the important thing. I mean, you're right. The online community is there, and it is very important because it allows people to find their people.
Yeah.
You have these different, likes and similarities, and I enjoy playing online when I can, but I like the banter back and forth. I like being able to, like, I'm very good at improv. I like making a table laugh and be able to do it. So for me, I can hold, like, basically I can hold court better if everybody's together there
Yeah.
versus there. It's just kind of how I've learned just myself through it.
Yeah. And you said you've run like 300 games, which I'm assuming means you've probably played thousands of games. Is there a character that you've played that taught you the most about yourself?
I was thinking about that. I was like, huh, what would be? I was like, well, I mean, there's definitely ones that I wouldn't, I played some street workers. They were interesting, but no, the ones I I mean, I'm I'm a very noble. I like playing champions or
Mm.
paladins, and yeah, in other systems, but because I try to be very noble and very just, and it's just who I am. So one of my names on Paizo is Carhaz. It was from an old Dragon Force, an old Sega Saturn game. But anyhow, so that's my character I have because he's noble. He's trying to stand up for those in need. Or Galladonna, you know, my paladin of the goddess of love and beauty and creativity. And it's like, okay, that person that's there trying to always help the, downtrodden is who I am. It's who I am as a
Mhm.
person, and it helps me, help stand strong in my principles too. And I'm a forever role player, so it's a crux I know, because some of my people that know me when they GM for me can con me because they know my characters will only do certain things. But that also means when I can have that confidence when I'm able to role play certain characters, it allows other people at the table to have confidence in theirs as well. I don't do voices. I wish I could. I say I have thousands of voices in my head, but only four of them come out. But I I know what it makes a character tick, and I know what it would do, and that's how I look at it. If people say, "Oh, I can't act, I can't do this," you don't need to. Just what would you want to do in the situation? If you were in this, what would they do? And that's how people can learn to role play, and it's a neat skill to have, and a neat opportunity to be able to explore.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. And the consistency of it too. I'm one of those people who like I want to pick a different character every time. I want to be a hammer smash person today. Okay, well now I want to be a wizard person today. Okay, well now I want to be a healer person today. And so I wind up like, but then somehow it always winds up going towards the same the same character instead of being, oh well this is an individual who's going to go and do it this way. It's like, well, it's still the same character pretty much. So Bite Mark would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
My favorite poem. Well, I mean, I'm not a overly poetic person, I guess, but I remember Desiderata. Reading it, it reminds me of how I always try to be. Just always being true to myself. Now that it really means a lot just to try to hold your own strength and try to help out those others. And you know, it, it it's it's resonated with me at different points. I mean, I'm not like I said, I don't know a lot of poems, but I think we talked about that. I was like, okay, that is that is, that is very strong for me. Trying to be at peace and trying to recognize the good I can help bring others and continue on with that.
I I don't think I had ever sat down and read that whole excerpt before. And then just a few weeks ago, we had someone bring that one up also. And I sat down and just read the whole thing. And then you bring it up just now is like, wow, now, now having had someone bring it up and afterwards gone through and read it, and now having you bring it up again, it's like, okay, well, now I understand. Now I understand what you're saying, which is great. And it's not a super long one, so I just posted a link to it. But if anybody wants to go through and read it, it's really great, and it's really thought provoking as well. It does talk about God in a couple of places, but just insert whatever you believe into that, and adjust it accordingly. What is your favorite life hack?
My favorite control alt delete. My
Yeah.
favorite life hack is I learned through brain injury recovery, a handful. I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount in a short amount of time. But one of the things that taught is allow yourself the space between stimulus and response is where the power lies. That's by Viktor Frankl. So I count to three. It's a brain injury trick. One, two, three. Just so sometimes when I'm in meetings with a client or with my boss, at the top of my page, I have one, two, three. Give yourself that three count to just slow down and collect your thoughts. Another hack I got was, through my brain injury class, I learned technique stop and deflect because people want to talk to you how you're doing and this and that, and it's very hard. Like I'm doing like crap. I can't move my hand. I can't do this. Can't do that. But instead, I'd be like, I'm okay. But can you believe how nice the weather is? Or can you see the bait? So you're acknowledging someone, and you're able to deflect it. And it's crazy because even though I had a brain injury and it helped me recover both of those, I can teach that. I can share that with anybody and everybody. That's a
Yeah.
life hack anybody can have. It doesn't have to have a TBI survivor. Like, okay, just slow down and count to three. Read, just look at yourself. Where are you at in the situation? How do you want to feel? And what do you want to see yourself? It's like, okay, great. That is, in the end of the day, I tell people I have to look at myself. I look at myself in the mirror and I try to look at it proudly. And I always try to remember to do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. And I promise everybody that first step is always the hardest, but
Mm,
the next one becomes easier. And then it becomes second nature. And then you forget, shit, 9.5 years ago, all this stuff happened. I look back, I'm like, wow, that's so far away. But I just did it, you know, one small, one small step a day.
yeah. The 1, 2, 3 hack is really one that I feel like a lot of people struggle with because they want to fill the space immediately. They want to fill that. They're not comfortable sitting, pausing in that silence. And it can be really difficult to feel like you just want to jump in and you just want to get out whatever it is that's in your brain, but taking that and it's not even really a noticeable pause either. Everyone around you is just going to go, I mean, it's just waiting. It's just waiting for a second. It's not a big deal. And it's more noticeable to you when you're doing it because you're freaking out internally about it. And you're going,
Yeah.
I haven't said anything. I gotta say something. I gotta say something. But you
Yeah.
take that intentional pause, and it really is really helpful in a lot of situations, many, many situations. It is time for the magic moment. So if you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, what would it be?
That, oh, you look fine. That you look okay. And that is, people go through so much. And just
Mm-hmm.
because they don't physically show it. I mean, like I said, I had the worst haircut in the world because I had to shave the front of my, but like I said, I have scars from ear to ear, pelvis, everything else. And you don't see it, but it's there. And so understanding that, just telling someone, smiling at someone will change their day. Just saying thank you, have a good day, fake it till you make it. It's it'd be great if someone can just accept the day for a day and just let it go because I promise everybody the sun will rise tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I am going to post your socials one more time for folks to be able to connect with you. While I'm doing that, I'm going to turn it over to you. If there's anything we didn't get to or anything you want to throw out there as far as resources, I'll just give you the floor for a second while I get these socials posted one more time.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. I mean, I I don't know all the answers, of course. I'm just well, I know every other thing, but I tell people it's all right. I was wrong once before, but I was actually just mistaken. But it's important to know, understand your own limits, and if you need help, reaching out to anybody just to say you need help is okay. And then we in this, especially in the social media world, everybody has to, like you're saying, go or be perfect. Nothing is perfect. No, there is no such thing as perfect. Perfect is the enemy of good, and just understanding that is important. I mean, I just did a recent webinar, and it's on my little link tree. I did a webinar from what's it, Anxiety and Depression Association of America. I said, boy, you guys are busy, but I just saw my friends in the band Lacuna Coil. I just saw them, and their newest album, Find Something That You Enjoy. Their newest album, Sleepless Empire. A lot of it's about anxiety and depression and social media. And I was like, wow. So I actually mixed 7 different songs lyrics throughout my entire webinar because I was like, it fit really well. So I was like, let me just do this. And again, smiling at what makes you unique, smiling at it and just saying, F it, whatever. I laugh at it, and sometimes just laughing at it. When you can laugh at something, it takes away power from so many others. And it's something I actually do a lot in my work. And, I like to disappoint people professionally. That's what a manager does. So what I do is I try to always lay it out with a little joke first, because psychologically it's true. People can handle bad news if you make them laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So I just do. It's the sandwich technique. Give me a little bit of, humor, son, then here's the meat of the problem and here's our solution to go. But people see that you're coming from it from a genuine spot. I'm thankful for so much for this cool opportunity I have from, speaking to you, speaking to whomever I can help. And I try to say to myself, if I helped one person, I guess it was worth it. And it's something I do believe. And I know I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people, and I want to keep doing that because we never know. This is going to live out there forever on the interwebs, and hopefully this might, someone will be enjoying the Twitch stream and they'll be like this, and I remember someone saying this, doing this. I mean, hell, many people have seen Game of Thrones. I don't know if many people know this. Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, on the first season, she actually suffered a brain aneurysm.
Oh, wow.
She was 21, and she's a British citizen, from England. She started a foundation, sameyou.org. Well, on my link tree, they actually featured me as a brain injury advocate. So again, cool little things that we've done. I mean, don't you write your own story, everybody. Don't anybody else do it. You're your own author. We're always our own. Allow yourself the chance to write a better one tomorrow. You got it.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. I really enjoyed this conversation. And like you said, as if we touch even one person, that is absolutely worth it. And that is always my goal as well, is just impact one person in a positive manner. And I know that we have reached at least one person here today. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you for taking the time out of your evening. Folks who are here with us right now, stick around. I will be right back. We're going to play some games, but stick around. I will come back, I promise. But thank you, Nicholas, just for taking the time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to that conversation. I hope you guys got a lot out of it, because I know that I did. There was a lot in there worth sitting with. One of the things that keeps coming back to me after talking with Nicholas is how he described those early days of recovery. Not being in a coma, but his mind just being blank for nearly 2 weeks. Being there, but not there, and how terrifying it was when he came back to himself and realized that the part of him that he identified with the most, the problem solver, the guy with the plan, had gone quiet. That is a deeply human fear. Most of us have something like that. some version of ourselves that we rely on, that we build our identity around, and the thought of losing access to it is genuinely frightening. Nicholas lost access to it in the most dramatic way possible, and he found his way back. That's worth something. I also keep thinking about what he said about the gaming table, that it gave him a place to show up when the world felt like too much, a place where someone had to tie his shoes differently and wheel in through a side entrance, and people just made room. Nobody made it weird. They just played the game with him. We talk a lot about community and connection as these big abstract ideas, but that's what it actually looks like in practice. Making room. Someone showing up to your hospital room because you met at a game store. Someone at a convention wrapping you in a hug because they know it's been a hard year. It doesn't have to be big or complicated. And the advice to do some 1, 2, 3 counting before you respond, giving yourself that tiny window between the thing that's happening and the thing you do about it. Nicholas learned that in brain injury recovery, but he is right that it applies everywhere. In an argument, in a hard meeting, in a moment where you're about to say something that you can't take back, that pause is where you get to decide who you want to be in that situation. Viktor Frankl said it first, but Nicholas is out here making it practical, and I respect that. Here's what I want you to take away from today if you're carrying something heavy right now. Recovery from anything, not just a physical injury, rarely looks the way you think it's going to look. It's a lot slower, it's a lot messier, it's a lot more humbling than you planned for. And the things that end up helping you are not always the things you would have predicted. Sometimes it's a heavy metal Pandora station. Sometimes it's a room full of people arguing about what a paladin would do in a dungeon. Sometimes it's just someone who looks you in the eye and speaks to you like you're worth speaking to. You don't have to have it figured out in advance, but you do have to stay open to whatever ends up working. If today's episode resonated with you, I would genuinely love it if you took a minute to leave a review or a comment on whatever platform you're listening right now. It makes a really big difference in helping other people find the show, and finding the show might be exactly what someone out there needs today. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you know someone who's navigating a TBI, a long recovery, or who just needs to hear a story like Nicholas's right now, please share this episode with them. That's how this kind of thing actually reaches people. You can find ways to connect with Nicholas in the show notes. You can also find ways to connect with me and with the rest of the community in the show notes. Click through on that and you'll find a great website, tacosfallapart.com. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving a damn about mental health, yours and other people's. This stuff matters, and so do you. And hey, sometimes the interview runs long, the audio gets weird, the guest link drops twice, and you almost lose the whole conversation. Sometimes you forget to say something important, or you say something and immediately wish you'd said it differently. Sometimes the whole thing just does not go according to plan. But you show up anyway, and something real happens. Kind of like a taco, it falls apart in your hands, and it's still worth eating. I'll see you next time.